So let's see what's looking strong in power armor this season. Time to take a look through 3 very strong Space Marine army lists. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, the strategy focused 40k channel, where today we're talking Space Marines, and in particular taking a look at 3 very different top tournament lists from 3 different chapters. In the video we'll talk about which units were used and why, and hopefully give a bit of inspiration from the various combos that they contain. First up, I thought we'd take a look at the Mass Deathwing list that took 3rd at the enormous Leicester City GT. Placing here at this tournament is just as impressive as winning many smaller ones. With well over 300 players, this is one of the very biggest events of 9th edition so far, and a lot of good players were in attendance. I must admit I do really quite like this list, just with how simple and brutally effective it is. I think if you'd gone back a year or two and told people that just fielding nothing but Deathwing Terminators, all armed with fists and Stormbolters would be effective, I think there'd be a lot of people who just wouldn't believe you. The list is built around a single Dark Angel's Deathwing Vanguard detachment, the one where all of their normal Terminator squads gain Obsec, so these enormous durable death blobs are all going to be able to hold objectives incredibly well. You also get the command points refunded, which is quite nice for having extra tricks available. In the HQ slots we have Azrael with his Warlord trait Brilliant Strategist, and Ezekiel with the combination of Mind Worm, Engulfing Fear and Mind Wipe. Azrael pairs incredibly nicely with the Terminators, as none of these have bothered to bring their Storm Shields along to save some points. Azrael could easily provide 2 or more squads with a 4+ invul save, as well as his excellent Chapter Master rerolls, and putting one squad in the appropriate doctrine each turn. It could be great for amping up a little bit of Stormbolter fire that, or potentially if they are engaging vehicles or monsters, putting them into the Deathwing Assault doctrine is really nice, as that allows you to reroll all wound rolls with those scary chain fists. Ezekiel is very nearly in auto-include territory for the Dark Angels, I think. He's just really efficient for what he does. An 125-point Psyker who casts 2 psychic powers very reliably with +1 to cast, a little bit of Deny the Witch, but most importantly those powers can make the enemy models fight last, great for when you're engaging multiple targets, steal Obsec away from enemy units, all the better when your own Terminators have it in abundance, and potentially mess with enemy auras with Mind Wipe, making a key buff just go away for a turn. There's then a Ravenwing Apothecary upgraded with the Honor Virament, and interestingly not upgraded to the more standard Chief Apothecary build for the unit. The Honor Virament is a buff that helps out with ongoing combats. It means that you always get the +1 to your attacks characteristic, even irrespective of Shock Assault, so it could really help out in ongoing combats if they're just bogged down for multiple turns, and Ezekiel has a very similar rule himself as well. I guess that could help stop them from being swarmed and hopefully push over the edge in the next few rounds of combat rather than having to fall back or anything. In any case, he can still pay the command point to combat revive 1 Space Marine per turn, making charges shorter and just restoring yet more wounds worth a very durable Deathwing to the table. The Feel No Pain certainly won't go amiss either. Finally, for support we have a Bladeguard Ancient. He's got the Decisive Tactician Dark Angel's Warlord trait, +1 to advance and charge for Dark Angel's core units next to him. Certainly would help those Deathwing get up the board in a hurry if they need to, and make their charges just a little bit more reliable. I'm not 100% sure how each squad was played, but I guess you could have an 8-inch rerollable charge out of Deep Strike with a command point. That still would be a bit of a gamble, but significantly more reliable than a 9-inch one. Perhaps more importantly for the Ancient though, he does have the Pennant of Remembrance, the very good Deathwing banner which allows you to have -1 damage on one unit, which just makes one of these squads ridiculously hard to remove between Azrael's 4+ invul, the Ravenwing Apothecary's 6+ Feel No Pain, the Deathwing's innate transhuman physiology that they have all the time, and then stacking -1 damage to that makes them some of the most durable units in the game. It fits in very well with the Dark Angel's playstyle of just stomping into the middle of the board and laughing at your attempts to take the objectives off them. Finally, for the squads that they'll actually be buffing are just 4 enormous units of Deathwing Terminators, all pretty much identical. The Sergeant's taking Power Swords, and every other squad member taking a Stormbolter and Chain Fist. It really is quite cool just to see the standard tactical Terminator loadout being so hilariously strong, and clearly good enough to carry the entire army to multiple victories. The Stormbolters will put some hefty hurt on anything that's light infantry related, and the Chain Fists are just all round nasty. A bunch of attacks at Strength 8, AP -4, usually D3 damage, but going up to a flat 3 against vehicles. Very relevant against things like Dread Knights, Drakari Pain Engines, or plenty of the other vehicles in the meta at the moment. 2 of the 3 squads using the actual Deathwing Terminator datasheet take a Watcher in the Dark for a Deny the Witch each, and the squad of regular Terminators takes a Teleport Homer for an option of a redeploy back into your own drop zone halfway through the game. Though it doesn't really have any ranged threat to deal with enemy heavies whatsoever, this list is just monstrously scary on both the primaries and the secondaries. You can just struggle to take and hold primaries against this sheer might of Terminated Death, and Archangels have some of the better secondaries in the game, such as that one where they can just sit on the one in their own deployment zone all game long and pretty much guarantee 15 VP. Oaths of Moment would be good to take and hold the centre of the board, and this one could be good for things like To the Last as well, daring your opponent to try and chew through those enormous blobs of termies. Overall, looks thoroughly intimidating to play against, and quite cool that you can just take an entire army of tactical Terminators these days, and it can both be scary and effective. Next up we have a Space Wolves list, a good old March of the Dreadnoughts pattern list, this one run by Andy Patton, who used it to take second at the Dice Head Holiday Major Tournament. The list is organised into 2 different Vanguard detachments, so incredibly command point light between that, the Relic Contemptor Dreadnoughts, and the upgrades for the characters, and it is running Space Wolf successors. They're an interesting choice that's a bit different to the standard pick of Born Heroes and Whirlwind of Rage. They still have Whirlwind of Rage for the exploding 6s, but he's also taken Warded as well, the one for the 5+ feel no pain against mortal wounds. I guess with Grey Knights and Thousand Suns in the meta, plus almost every army having at least some decent access to mortal wounds now, it's a bit more relevant than it ever was, and certainly mass mortal wounds isn't a bad way to down Dreadnoughts with their -1 damage. In any case, the list is very Dread heavy, no less than 8 Dreadnoughts, 5 of them amazing gun platforms, in 3 Redemptors with the Macroplasma, Onslaught Gatling and Icarus Pod loadouts, and then 2 Relic Contemptors, each just with twin Volkite Culverins. Fairly standard stuff there. Nice threatening gun platforms that are just going to hoover the enemy away off the board. Then, maybe a bit more interesting and Space Wolvesy, we have 3 Wolfen Dreadnoughts, each with a Blizzard Shield, Fenrisian Great Axe and Heavy Flamer. These little critters are certainly incredibly resilient dreadnoughts, each of them having 8 wounds, a 4+ invul, and that 5+ against mortal wounds from Warded. Really not too bad for 130 points, and because they're Wolfen, they're a bit faster than most dreadnoughts as well, moving 8 inches and getting to reroll charge rolls against enemy units. They seem like a pretty ideal distraction Carnifex type unit to throw up onto the middle of the objectives. Hopefully the opponent will be shooting them rather than other things. Also bounding up the field on jump packs, there are 3 units of 5 Wolf Guard with Lightning Claws and Storm Shields. These guys are slightly cheaper for Space Wolves than standard Space Marines, only clocking in at 28 points per model, and they can potentially be very nasty indeed, particularly when you give them Chapter Master rerolls, put them in the Assault Doctrine for a turn, and then you can have double exploding 6s for every roll of a 6, maybe even combined with +1 to wound in some lists, though I guess that might be quite tight in this particular list as you don't have too many CP. The Dreadnoughts are supported by a Primaris Tech Marine with Master of the Forge for 3 wound healing per turn, and also taking the Reliquary of Gathalamor. A little bit of anti-psyker there, with an 18-inch aura of -1 to cast, and also doling out some mortal wounds to psykers if they fail. The other big supporting threat is a Wolflord on Thunderwolf, with the Aura of Majesty for a 9-inch aura of reroll once, and a similar 9-inch ability for reroll all hits, as he has been upgraded to a Chapter Master as well. It's a very decent support piece, can be quite threatening in melee with advance and charge for the Thunderwolf, plus having a Thunderhammer and Storm Shield to crack at the enemy with, and he's also pretty tanky as well with the Resolve of the Bear giving him a feel no pain, and the Pelt of the Beowulf makes him extra hard to kill in close combat, making him -1 to hit and wound, particularly for any attacks to the strength 4 or less, he's easily going to be able to laugh those off. Lastly we have 3 units of 1 Cyberwolf, just 15-point little distractions and nuisance units, nice irritating units for jumping onto primary objectives, screening out enemy deep strikers, or potentially achieving certain secondaries. Can definitely be worth the 15 points towards winning the mission. Overall just seems like a really durable and slightly terrifying list. A gun battery of dreadnoughts that hopefully you're not going to be able to spare too many resources to shoot while you're dealing with the Wolfen Dreads, some hardy Wolf Guard jumping up the board that are quite hard to shift with their Storm Shields, and a few support units in the Cyber Wolves, and the characters who can both punch fairly well in combat too. It's always quite fun to see an army that's almost entirely made of dreadnoughts. Finally, the last of our 3 lists is a more balanced Black Templar list, a good mix of infantry characters and dreadnoughts here, and this one was played by Matt Root, who used it to take first at the Renegade Open. I think this list is quite a fun one, particularly with just how many of the Black Templar Relic Bearer rules it manages to make use of. I really do quite like those little squad upgrades, they seem like really good fun to use in game. At the back of the list there's a decent amount of fire support, 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts with Macroplasmas, Gatling and Icarus pods. Depending on the vow being taken, they could have a 5+ invul save as well, though I guess you could make the vow into something else if the opponent didn't have all that much threatening high AP shooting. In the midfield there's a whole bunch of squads. There's a unit of 5 Assault Intercessors with the Fist of Balthus, That's the Power Fist with a flat damage of 3 and no -1 to hit. Pretty scary stuff when you take it on an Assault Intercessor, as they could fight twice for 2 CP, giving you a massive flurry of damage 3 attacks for a relatively cheap unit. There's then 2 small Crusader squads with bolters, just 5 men and non-Primaris. They look like they're just there for actions and objectives and filling out the battalion. Then a couple of meaty bricks of assault units, 6 Blade Guard and 7 Assault Terminators, and they both have 2 Black Templar upgrades each. They both look like really solid units that could make use of the Chaplain Litanies or Helbrecht's buffs. You bring a whole load of wounds to the table, and their general purpose combat weapons could deal with most things. The Blade Guard take the Sword of Judgment and the Icon of Heinemann, the Sword of Judgment being a Strength 7 Damage 3 power sword, definitely going to be helpful for punching up against hard targets, and the Icon of Heinemann makes them all but invulnerable to AP-1 and AP-2, one squad member treating it as AP-0 instead. So if any of that sort of firepower comes in against them, they're going to be saving on their 2+ armor save. The Assault Terminators, on the other hand, take the Champion of the Feast upgrade. That's the 1 command point 1 to make your Sergeant +1 attack, +1 wound, and +1 weapon skill. Although that's a pretty big deal when you're striking with a Thunderhammer. That's certainly going to add up to more landed hits each time the squad fights. And they also take the Crux Obsidian as well, a -1 damage one. That could be particularly handy to deploy every time you have a 2 damage weapon shooting at you. 15 points, but it does have a good chance of saving a Terminator's life. Finally, we've just got a lone attack bike with a multi-melter, and they're there to deliver the Holy Orb to battle. That's the Holy Hand Grenade that hands out a few mortal wounds and makes one enemy unit fight last as well. I believe it's been given to the bike, as I believe you can shoot it even after you've advanced. It isn't a normal shooting attack, but still goes off on a 2+, so that attack bike could potentially zoom in 20 inches if it needed to, and make one important squad fight last just before your squad charges it. Finally, there's a decent amount of characters supporting all these advancing units. High Marshal Helbrecht is a great all-rounder, a bit of shooting, massive melee, +1 strength to your fighty squads, and also Chapter Master rerolls. There's then not 1 but 2 chaplains on bikes, one that takes the Divine Protection for the 5+ Feel No Pain and Fires of Devotion, +1 attack that's going to be really nice on either the Blade Guard or the Assault Termis. He's got the Ancient Breviary to make sure those litanies go off reliably. We then have the other chaplain, who just takes Rites of War and the Tannhauser's Bones. He's just an absolute brick of a chaplain. The bones should mean that he only ever takes 1 damage from every enemy attack, and with Rites of War he definitely has the play available just to zoom up onto an objective, and unless he can be focused by loads and loads of threats, the opponent just isn't going to be able to remove him that turn. Giving Obsec to the Blade Guard or the Assault Terminators also could be nice, and he does have the Exaltation of Rage to give someone +1 to wound in combat. Again, that could be handy in multiple places. Finally, we have a Primaris Apothecary, upgraded to the Chief Apothecary with Selfless Healer. He has the Crusader Helm for a bit more range on that Feel No Pain aura, and also throwing 1 squad into the Assault Doctrine each turn. Again, it's hard to turn down extra AP on all your weapons. Potentially Selfless Healer could be a really nice combination with those durability relics, maybe have them gunned down in your opponent's turn, and then just restore them to the squad by healing them. Could allow you multiple uses out of things like the Crux Obsidian or the Icon of Heinemann. Overall, another very, very scary Space Marine list. The Blade Guard and the Terminators are just going to be a nightmare to deal with. The Dreadnoughts should put out some consistent fire support, and you've got a bunch of annoying characters and support units that could all potentially cause you a lot of problems, even if you do somehow manage to neutralise the main threats. It's very cool to see another style of Black Templar list doing well with the new book. So I think that we'll leave that there for today. Let me know what you think of the 3 lists, and if you happen to know any of them better than I do, feel free to let me know any other details that I might have missed. If you've enjoyed the video, feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, where I will certainly keep these 40k videos coming, with new ones out just about every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying all the videos on the channel, I would just like to mention that Auspex Tactics does have a Patreon page, and you can find that down in the video description below. Channel patrons do get a fair few advantages, including seeing certain videos early, regular votes to see what sort of things happen next on the channel, and automatic entry into the regular prize giveaways with a chance to win some big model kits each month. If any of that sounds good to you, or you'd just like to help support, then the link is down in the video description. In any case, an absolutely massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.